Hello again. It is August 1st, which means it is time for me once again to attempt to read a book for the Buzzwordathon and film a video and post that video within the first week of this month. Last month, I really thought I was going to do it. I read the book, I filmed everything, I had half of it edited and ready to go, and then I went on a trip and I brought my laptop with me and everything, like I was gonna do it, and it just didn't happen. So maybe this will be the month. August has actually been up in the air for a while because it was the only book that I was not able to fill for the challenge back when I filmed my original video last December. And I even was like a little loosey-goosey with the title with the challenge prompt, because the prompt was a book with a time of day in it. So I could have taken that really literally and looked for a book that like literally had a time, like 9 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, because I know those are out there. I decided to interpret it a little more loosely and think like a time of day, like night, morning, afternoon, evening, something like that. And even with that looser interpretation, I could not find anything in my collection of books that I already had. So I've been like kind of keeping my eye out for something ever since, thinking maybe I'd find something at the thrift store. I never ever thought about this challenge while I was in a thrift store, but I've been looking at all the books that I, have still been buying anyway, and nothing fit other than Survive the Night by Riley Sager. But that book came out last month and I couldn't wait. I had to read that one sooner. So coincidentally, just a couple days ago, maybe a week, I was over at my aunt's house and she gave me a bag of books that she thought I would like. And I was home thinking about this challenge and I was like, wait a minute, let me look, because I wasn't paying attention to what she gave me. And sure enough, we have Nightfall by Nelson Demille. I have never read a Nelson Demille. I know he's quite popular. I don't want to say like with the boomers, but that is kind of what I'm thinking. I think this is an older book. I want to say it takes place in 1996. I guess it was written in 2004, so it's not super old, but I know this is a well-liked author, and I think he writes like mystery thrillers. And I'm really glad I have this because I can kind of stay within, the spirit of the challenge, which is me not buying books, but reading books I already have, or in this case, just obtained, but not through purchasing. So according to the description, in 1996, on a deserted beach, a man and woman are having a little naughty time, and they've got a video camera set up. And while they're trying to videotape their naughty time, an airplane explodes in the air above them, and they catch the whole thing on film. So the government said the crash was just a mechanical failure, nothing out of the ordinary. Well, obviously out of the ordinary, but no intentional ill intent. So several years later, I think it's like a husband-wife team. I think one of them's a detective and one of them's an FBI agent. And they suspect that there was actually something else going on with this plane crash, and they decided to investigate. Sounds pretty good. Sounds like something I would enjoy. So I'm glad about that. I'm glad I just didn't end up with something not my thing at all. My only problem is that I need to start reading this now. But I just started reading this, which was my book of the month for last month, and I love it so much. I'm not very far, but this is giving me everything that has been missing from the books I've read recently. It reminds me very much of like a more adult, more honest, old Sarah Dessen. I don't know why. It's really nothing similar, but I'm getting very like The Truth About Forever vibes, which is my favorite Sarah Dessen. The writing of this just reminds me so much of what I've loved about Sarah Dessen books in the past, and why I tend to keep reading them even though I feel like in recent years they've gotten more watered down and just she's just trying to churn out books. But I am loving this. I really don't want to stop reading it. And then I'm also reading an arc from NetGalley called, I think it's A Lesson in Vengeance, A History of Vengeance. I can't remember the title, but I am absolutely loving that one as well, and I really need to get that one finished so I can get my review posted before the publication date, which is in 2 days. So I have multiple books I need to be reading right now, and you know how it is. When it rains, it pours. But anyway, I'm gonna get going on my day. I'm all dressed up and ready to hop on my Peloton, and I'll keep you guys updated when I start the book, let you know what I'm thinking. All right, it's been about a week since my last video, and as per usual, I am very behind schedule with this project. I am about halfway through almost with Nightfall, and it's fine. Like, I don't mind this type of like police procedural kind of book, but it's also kind of like it's kind of dense. There's a lot of technical information about this plane crash, a lot of alternate theories, that kind of thing. It's fine. It's just not like something I'm super eager to like get to all the time. I just have not been making it a priority. I was really into The Things We Keep, and The People We Keep, and I finished that one, and it kind of let me down at the end. But I was dedicating a lot of reading time this week to that book. And then I also finished A Lesson in Vengeance, which was also pretty good, but also took time away from this. So a couple things about this book. First of all, I did not realize the plane crash that is kind of the central part of the story. I did not realize that was an actual real plane crash that happened in 1996. I haven't like looked into what really happened. I'm guessing from this it was controversial, or not controversial, but like there's a lot of conspiracy theories about what actually took the plane down. I'm assuming that in real life, as in the book, there's an official government story that says it was mechanical failure, but there were a bunch of eyewitnesses that thought they saw something like a missile going for the plane. I don't know how I feel about it, having been a real plane crash. I feel kind of weird about it, and I don't know why, because obviously taking actual historical events and fictionalizing them is a very common thing, and I've consumed a lot of media that does that. Like my favorite movie is Titanic, for example. And even taking something real that happened and like fictionalizing how it happened, like that's not an uncommon thing. I read a lot of stuff like that. I don't know, maybe it's because this plane crash actually happened like during my lifetime, like in 1996. Probably a good chunk of the people that died in that plane crash would still be alive today. There was like a whole group of like high school students going on a class field trip to Paris for their French class. I was 7 in 1996. We assume those people are probably 16, 17, 10 years older than me. That means they'll be like 42 now. And I don't know. I don't know why I feel weird about it. It's not even like a weird thing to do. Like that's a common thing in fiction, but I don't know. And the other thing I have about that is it makes me want to like go and research what actually happened, which just takes me down like a whole Wikipedia wormhole. I'm like, I don't have time for this. I need to read this actual book. So I haven't done it yet. Like it's in my head that eventually I'm going to have to go look and get an idea of what of this was fiction, what was real. The other thing is this book, at the current point in the book I'm at, it is July of 2001. And this book was written in 2004. And there is a lot of stuff about terrorism, Middle Eastern terrorism, to be specific. Osama bin Laden's been mentioned a couple times. So I'm just like, is 9/11 gonna happen in this book? I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know. I also did not realize that this is part of a series. I looked it up on Goodreads. This is actually number 3, the John Corey books, which is the main character. He's a detective, or he was a detective. Now he does contract work, I think, for the FBI, for this anti-terrorism task force. There's a lot of references to stuff that I assume happened in the previous 2 books, where he was involved with trying to take down some terrorist, and that guy's still on the run. And yeah, like I don't see myself caring enough to go back and read the previous books, or really to read more in this series. But there's definitely stuff that he's talking about that I'm like, oh, that was a previous book. I can tell that was like a whole previous book worth of stuff. And then kind of the final thing is Nelson Demille. Let me show you guys a picture. Let me show you guys the author picture. Like, that's Nelson Demille. And this book reads like it was written by a guy named Nelson that looks like this. I feel like John Corey is very much Nelson's Mary Sue, his NYPD cop alter ego. Kind of obnoxious. He takes pride in being obnoxious. He takes pride in not being politically correct. He says some really offensive things about women, somewhat, mostly Middle Eastern people. There's quite a bit of offensive stuff, and he knows he's being offensive, and he says he's being offensive, and he kind of takes pride in it, and that's like the most offensive part about it to me. I like dated books because I like kind of going back to that time before before smartphones specifically, because this book does have cell phones. That time when everyone wasn't so interconnected, and it makes for different plot moments, and it's kind of got the nostalgia thing, but the downside being that you get a lot of this like pretty overtly racist stuff. It's jarring to read, and it's definitely a product of its time, let's put it that way. So yeah, I'm getting through it. I'll let you guys know. So I am not finished yet, but this has picked up quite a bit. I'm past the halfway mark, starting to get to, I think, the more exciting stuff. But last we spoke, this was taking place at the end of July of 2001. We skipped ahead about a month, and now we are like in early September 2001. Like, I'm pretty sure it's actually the Saturday before September 11th. While this guy's going around trying to solve this mystery, I'm just like he's running around New York and talking about the World Trade Center. I'm interested to see what's gonna happen with that, like how everything's gonna come together and how that's gonna take place. Because obviously there's not enough book left to like have a September 11 story while also wrapping up this mystery. I don't know, we'll see. I'm actually about to make dinner and I'm trying out this TikTok recipe of stuff. It's all from Trader Joe's, which I like to go to sometimes. And yeah, I thought maybe I'd vlog a little bit of that and let you guys know how it goes. And then I'll get back to you when I finish the book. So I've got all my ingredients. I've got some chicken sausage, orzo, sun-dried tomatoes, chicken broth, heavy cream, and my spinach. I'm gonna start off by chopping up my chicken sausage and cooking that in the pan and take from there. Okay, that's everything except for the spinach. I need to cover it and let it cook. Didn't say for how long, so I guess when the orzo starts to look like pasta, I'm gonna add my spinach a little later because in the video they used frozen and I'm using fresh, so I'm just gonna let this go for a bit. All right, that's it. I don't know if the video is catching it good, but it looks pretty damn good. So we'll sample and see what we think. All right, moment of truth. I got my food. Got myself a little glass of wine. It's good. It was pretty good. I'm not gonna say it's the best thing I've ever had before, but it's pretty darn good, and it was actually very easy to make, so I'd probably make this again. We'll see how Justin likes it when he gets home, but I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay, I am almost done with this book, and it is September 10th. They just made an appointment, the main character did, to meet with his wife and the FBI and a bunch of witnesses the next morning at 8:30 at Windows on Top of the World in the World Trade Center. And there's literally only like that many pages left, and I have no answers, and I'm so confused about what this book is doing. Like, I feel like it's gonna end with nothing answered about this plane crash, and like, I don't actually think John Corey is gonna die at the top of the World Trade Center, because I'm pretty sure this is like a long running series, but I don't know what's happening. I feel like they're trying to be coy about the fact that the next morning is September 11th. I think they just mentioned that it's Labor Day in September, so I'm pretty sure, and like, you know, it's the weekend, you know it's Monday, but if you weren't paying like a ton of attention, you might not have realized. I've been very hyper aware this whole time. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck this book is. I don't know. I'll let you know when I'm finished.
A few minutes later.
Okay, seriously, fuck that book. Fuck that book.
Okay, let's talk about Nightfall. There is no way for me to describe why this book was disappointing without major spoilers, so beware about that. But essentially, this entire book is about John Corey looking into this plane crash. And the big debate of the plane crash is whether or not it was taken down by a missile, because people think they saw a missile, or whether it was just a mechanical failure and caused like an optical illusion that people thought was a missile. So early on, John Corey finds out through his wife, who is an FBI agent, there's the possibility of a tape existing, because there was a beach with like a blanket and a video camera cap, and they think there was like a couple having sex, filming themselves having sex, and that they might have caught everything on tape, which is exactly what happened. So John Corey, who also works for the FBI, although in a lesser capacity than his wife, he used to be a cop, they rent him out basically, I don't know. He starts looking into things. FBI agents approach him and tell him, no, don't look into this. And he does so anyway. He tries really hard to find these people. And there's kind of a funny moment in the middle where the FBI very quickly catches on to what he and his wife are doing, and as like a punishment, he gets sent to Yemen.
I'm going to Yemen!
for a month, and his wife gets sent. They get sent to 2 separate countries away from each other for like over a month. It's like a real clear punishment for looking into this thing that they're not supposed to be looking into. John Corey gets back. He decides that he's going to keep looking into this because he's really fucking pissed off they got sent to Yemen. So he starts poking around again, like the hotel where the people were supposed to be, and he finds out that the FBI already did all this. And he finds very clear evidence that not only did the FBI probably find these people, but that they have been working to cover up the fact that these people and probably a tape existed. There's a really funny line that I really like. There's a recurring joke / character that is dead, and I assume died in one of the previous books. But John Corey really didn't like this guy, and he thinks his wife did go out on a couple dates with him. And there's this really funny moment where this character suddenly reappears back from the dead, and John Corey, and again, it's been repeated over and over how much he hated this guy and how glad he was this guy died. And he goes, "It took me a minute to get over the shock, but I knew I'd never get over the disappointment of him seeing this guy's actually alive." So this is all going well and good, and John Corey finds the woman that was in the videotape and discovers that she does in fact have a secret second copy of the tape that nobody else knows about. Because back the night it happened, the guy she was having an affair with convinced her to erase the tape, and when the FBI found them, they gave the FBI the erased tape. And John Corey knows, and even the woman knows by this point, that apparently you can restore erased VCRs. The FBI knows exactly what was on that tape, and they've been covering it up for 5 years. But the woman has a second copy. So the FBI very quickly figures out that John has found this woman, and he and the woman go into hiding. And as this is all happening, September 11th is getting closer and closer and closer. So he makes an appointment with everybody else to meet at the top of the World Trade Center for breakfast at the Windows on the World, or whatever the restaurant was called, at 8:30 a.m. And they're going there. Everybody else is there. His wife's in a different car, and he thinks his wife's up there, and his car happens to be a little late. And it's literally the woman, the man, guy he's got that has the extra copy of the tape, or one of them, because of course he made another copy and hid it in a hotel safe. The guy he thought was dead's up there, and his friend that's helping him, and his other police officers. And then 9/11 happens, and basically the only survivors of this entire fiasco are him and his wife, because they were late and didn't actually make it up there. But there's this really tense moment where it's only a couple pages, but he doesn't know that his wife wasn't there, and his wife doesn't know that he wasn't there because of all the chaos. And they both help help as first responders, trying to dig through rubble and stuff, which as I was reading it, I was like, oh, the cancer. He gets back, his wife's fine, he's fine, and pretty much everybody that they know involved with this has died. The one copy of the tape was there too and is gone, and at the very end of the book, he goes and checks in the safe, and somehow the extra copy is gone too. So this entire book is for fucking nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. All we find out is that there is in fact a tape that contains footage of what looks like a missile, and that the FBI has been covering that up. We never get a single bit of information about why, who was behind it, why that guy came back from the dead. I assume it's supposed to be that he was never really dead for reasons. It's never explained how his death was faked or anything, so it's completely useless, even though it does kind of make for some funny scenes between him and John Corey because they hate each other so much. But yeah, this book's for fucking nothing. Nothing. As we're going through it, the part of John Corey, him solving the mystery of finding the woman and finding the tape, it's fine enough to read, but God, was this frustrating. I hate it. If you look in the back, in the author's note, Nelson Demille actually says, "I'd like to thank my son, Alex Demille. It was Alex who came up with a perfect ending to this book, helping me out of the corner into which I'd painted myself." Fuck you, Alex. And fuck you, Nelson Demille, for making me read this whole fucking book, thinking I was gonna find out what this conspiracy theory is and find out what the cover-up was and what happened, what fictionally happened to this plane. And instead, nope, everything goes up in September 11th, which is just the cheesiest, most exploited, just worst fucking thing I could ever imagine. I give this book 1.5 stars, rounded up to 2, because I don't think it's a true 1 star, because I didn't hate reading it. I was enjoying the reading for the most part. It's a little dry, a little of its time for sure, but God, do I hate that ending. God, I would not recommend this. Like, it's just, I looked it up to see if this is ever addressed in any of the previous John Corey books. No, it's not. It just goes on. Like, each book is a different mystery, and this is never brought up again, that he basically uncovered this enormous FBI conspiracy, and everyone involved is now dead, and he has no way of proving it, and all the evidence is gone. So yeah, fuck this book. That's all I have to say about that. Next book, the prompt is a book with the word dark in the title. I have a book called The Darkest Corners, which was written by Kara Thomas. I have read one book by her before. That weekend, I really enjoyed that book. I gave it 5 stars. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think it's a YA mystery. The other book by her I read was really dark, so let's see if this one is as well. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna wrap it up because there is an enormous spider in my field of view, and yeah, I'm gonna get myself away from that. So bye, see you guys next time.